That was someone I told Sam, not Sam Tripoli, the other guy, Steve Simone. I go, you see that girl? How old are you now? 48, whatever. I'm 53. You're never going to see that ever again. But you ever see like a nice looking couple now? Like he's 26 and she's 22 and they're both beautiful. She got perky little tits. She's banging. Her legs are suntan. And you're thinking to yourself, this little young savage must be going home tearing that pussy. I mean, you think back to your little 26-year-old in the afternoons where you take him home and rub him down and give him a good stab. And you come like 3 times, the whole fucking thing. That never happens no more. Like at this age, you look at that and go, that'll never happen. You ever think of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other day, all these guys are like, look at that young girl. Look, and I'm going, look at her. Look at her. That'll never happen again in my world, ever. I will never see a woman naked like that ever again. It's like you were saying. You ever go to people's houses and they talk and then they say shit for 20 minutes? It's like by Studio City where I live. Go to that coffee shop from time to time. You know what they were saying in there?
What?
The day after the Vegas shooter? The Vegas shooter was Sunday night. Do you know what these idiots were saying in there on Monday?
What?
That this had to do with women's rights and the abortions, and they just talk. This new breed of Gentiles, they just talk. That's all they do, is talk with big words to impress you. But they don't say shit. They don't say shit. 3 or 4 big words to let you know they're smart, and then they didn't say nothing.
Well, there's a lot of repeating narratives, right?
Oh, yeah. Every time, the new show I'm going to do, I'm buying one of those little tape recorders, and I'm putting them under these 6 fucking morons every day. Then at night, I'm going to do a show about what they discussed. Because this is 60% of America, what these fucking people are talking about. This is the idiots. The shit that comes out of their mouth is amazing. And you sit there and go, no wonder fucking ISIS wants to shoot us. Listen to these fucking dummies. Listen to what's coming out of their mouth. Women's rights? That's what they were talking about.
Well, what was their argument? They were saying that the guy,
shot
everybody.
Their argument is everybody trying to be smarter than everybody. It's just 6 people trying to outwit each other. It's like when you go to those fucking dinner parties you talk about. And by the time they serve the salad, you want to put a gun in your fucking mouth. Why am I even fucking here with these people? I could have stopped at Burger King and had a better fucking time. That's why I don't go to those dinner parties, because there's 8 people talk. And once politics comes up, you lose me, Joe Rogan. I don't want to hear about it no more. You lose me. You lose me. These new political people talking nonsense, you lose me. Move forward. Either impeach them, get a new one, or shut the fuck up. I can't. You ever put the news on anymore?
Well, it's definitely
first 20 minutes
on you.
He didn't send the check. He called her. What the fuck, man? Just tell, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? There's got to be something more. There's got to be a seal stuck on a beach somewhere in this fucking country. Something more important than this shit every fucking day. So the politics is over in my world. Religion, I don't want to. You're not supposed to talk about politics or religion at those fucking things. But this new breed of Gentile, they just talk for the sense of talking, to see who's the smartest person in the room, and at the end of the day, they're all a bunch of dumb.
When I think of like the Cuban athletes, like Cuban super athletes, you think Yo Romero, right?
Well, the thing that is, the most thing that he has about being a Cuban is that he's 38, and you don't really know.
Oh, you can't tell.
Nobody knows at all if he's 38. He could be 22, Doug. He could be sucking you in, and nobody really knows. We really haven't. Those birth certificates, they went away. You just pick an age. What do you want to be? 38. Done. You know.
Well, he competed as a wrestler for a long time, so they know he's at least a certain age.
No, I'm just teasing, but
I know what you're
there's
saying.
always something with the Cuban. I remember my mom died. I told my aunt, she goes, how old was your mom? 48. Fuck, she's been 48 for 10 fucking years. Because it's true. You don't know, dog. You never know these motherfuckers' ages. They won't tell you. That last fight, he fought fucking great, man. But
did you see the one before that where he told people to not? He was trying to say, "Don't forget Jesus."
Right.
But they didn't get it because he's got a thick Cuban accent, the thickest. So he goes, "Don't forget Jesus. Don't forget Jesus." So people thought he was saying no for gay Jesus.
Okay.
Like there's no gay Jesus. Like Jesus isn't gay.
It could have been way worse though.
But all he was saying was forget.
Don't forget Jesus.
He was saying don't forget Jesus. He was just saying, I won. Don't forget Jesus.
You know why I didn't go to the weigh-in?
Why?
You know why I didn't go to that way?
Why'd you not go that way?
Because I would have gone off on him, that he would have beat up Jacare,
Right.
Luke, and Aldo and everybody on that ring that night. I know how to motivate Cubans.
Yeah?
Oh, with religion. They're radicals.
That's what you would do? You would just start talking about God?
I'm just talking about Ogun, the metal god of Cuba. And he
The
looks
metal? Wait a minute. Hold on.
There's a god in
Hold
Santeria.
on.
There's a god Ogun, and he's the one he's the metal worker. He's the fucking built. When you go on YouTube, look for Ogun. He's always a big yoked black guy that lives in the jungle, and he only comes out when there's a problem. So if I would have seen Joe Romero that day, I would have said, "Hijo Ogun," and I would have got his blood going.
Oh, my God.
I would have got his blood going and shit. Dog, I started doing that to Anderson Silva when I first met him. And I remember one day in the hallway, he couldn't take his eyes off me. People were talking to him. They kept looking back. What that motherfucker saying? Because it's big in Brazilian. That shit is big in Brazilian. So I would have started saying, "Oye, tú eres hijo Gun. Oye, Ogi." And then I would have started saying who my mother is.
Whoa.
Yo soy hijo la santísima caridad del cobre. Y te estoy diciendo que le tiene que meter leña. Yo te estoy diciendo que le tiene que meter
Jesus.
galletazo hasta por gusto.
that
They
the-
would have gone. Look at Ogun.
That's the dude?
That's Joe Romero. Look at him. That's
It does
Ogun.
look like him.
That's all black, muscular Cuban dudes that look like that. You fire them up, tell them they're Ogun's son, and they go
Sounds
fucking
racist
nuts.
somehow.
That's Ogun's son and shit. I'll get you
Wow.
fucking fired up with all
How
those
come I
images.
never heard this before?
Because this is huge in Cuba. Have you done the 23andMe or anything?
No, I need to do that.
You know, it's so stupid how a lot of people knock it, but when I read mine, I looked into it for a few days. And you learn about history.
Yeah.
You know how I have a little Chinese. What
Really?
The fuck?
You
Yeah.
have Chinese in you.
Yeah, because.
¿Tú tienes
because-
familia china?
No, cuando yo escupí en la botella, I
Sí.
spit in the bottle, la mandé para ver, you know. Just
Did you
to
have any
fucking-
idea you had Chinese in you?
No, Chinese, because the Chinese made the first real thing. They found chickens in San Francisco that had that DNA from that Chinese. It's very. The worst thing you could do if you smoke pot is spit in a bottle and get the report back. That is a fucking nightmare once you realize who you are. Cuando tú mandas el papeleo ese que tú ocupas en la botella y te mandan para atrás. ¿Quién
¿Quién
tú
tú
eres?
eres? Sí.
It really messes with you for a couple of days. I was Russian Jew. I was Western African.
Western African.
Western African, which I always knew I'm Cuban. When you're
Yeah,
Cuban,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
African.
yeah.
Wow, right.
When you see a Cuban, it's a black dude that speaks Spanish.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. They're just black
Yeah.
dudes that speak Spanish. They're Africans, okay?
Yeah.
So I knew that there's African blood. And the top, it's not Spain. They call it something else. It's Spain and something else up there. That's where... so they went all the way around, and the last little bit is Russian Jew. Like 2%. God knows where you get that from. But here's the problem. If you're Native American, it can't give you an actual
Iberian
peninsula. That's where we're really from.
Wow.
Now,
Powerful, Jamie.
but if you're American Indian with that thing, they can't. Like my wife's American Indian. I see her grandmother.
Yeah.
I saw the grandfather, bro.
Oh, yeah.
They're fucking Indians.
Yeah.
Okay? The mother got the upper lip. That's where Terry gets the Indian fucking lip from. Doesn't read it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't read if you're Indian unless you're a couple of generations back. Estamos hablando de los indios.
Sí.
Que si tú eres indio, americano,
It doesn't read the Native American?
no, it doesn't read it unless you're 3 or 4 generations. Something kinky. You gotta ask my wife. Something's
okay.
not- that's why she don't buy into it. They didn't put me into Santeria to be a witch doctor.
Explain Santeria to people who don't know what
It's
the
a
fuck that
religion that originated in Africa and Nigeria, and then the slaves brought it over to Cuba. They hid it from the plantation owners through Catholicism. So that's why there's a lot of cross.
It's kind of a mixture of African
mixture
and Catholic.
Catholic religion. When I was 5, I was brought up to 148th Street, and this lady had a collie, a dog, and I loved the collie. I loved dogs, and I was allergic to them. So while I was playing with the dog, she would talk to me, and I fell in love with this woman. I fell in love with her. She was like my mother. And then as I got older, one day they asked me, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want to get Elegua, which is the first one you get? Elegua and Ogun, Yo Romero, those are the first things you get, and you put them by your door, and they guarantee, you know, your safety. For me, it was health. That big black woman is my godmother, okay? And then after that, when I was 6, they finally said they were going to initiate me and my mother because my spirit took my father
Wow.
So they wanted my godmother, they wanted me and my mother to be twins in the Santeria. So I made Saint on 148th Street and Broadway. But for me, it wasn't to be a killer or to be anything like that. I can't carry guns. I can't go in cars with strange people. I can't do business with 3 people. I can't say, I hope Jamie fucking gets hit by a car. I'm not allowed to say all those things. I don't use it the way in the late 70s.
Why can't you do business with 3 people?
Because 2 of them will sidle up against you. And that's the same thing that happened to me on my kidnapping. I robbed somebody with 3 people. I can't stay in anything. Look at my life now. Look at my life when I was snorting white powder. My saint in my head is control. Like, that's why I always wear a white T-shirt on Mondays. It's the day of the spirit.
What? You
Yeah.
always wear a white T-shirt on Monday?
Look at my shoes. They're white on white.
Always?
When I step out of the shower, I walk onto
Only
a
on
white
Monday?
shower mat every day.
Every day.
Every day. I'm still very Santeria in my head. And when I saw them ripping my mother's clothes off, I was about 5. I'm like, fuck you black motherfuckers. And I started running down Bronx Boulevard. They had to chase me and bring me back. I didn't want to do it. It's an all-night ceremony. It's all night on a Friday.
It's crazy.
All night
12
on
hours
Friday,
long.
12 hours long.
Oh, my
You
God.
sleep, and then Sunday is when they read your future to you. And then for a week, you just live in a corner, white. They paint your head, you're bald.
What?
So I had to go back to school on Monday bald with a hat. They said he's not allowed in here with a hat. My mother gave the principal a small nickel, and I was allowed to wear the hat from 9 to 3. But then at 3 o'clock, I had to go home and change into white clothes for a year. Not allowed
For
to
a year?
I had to dress in white. Not
For a
allowed-
year?
A year. So for my cause, I would just have to wear
Imagine the
white
dry cleaning
underwear,
bills.
white socks, and white T-shirt. Because I was a kid. I can't keep wearing fucking white every day. I'm ripping shit.
Right.
So now your hair has to grow back. So when I walk into, there's a ton of Santeria in L.A.
Really?
I don't deal with it at all because it's all the same thing like everything else in L.A. It's a bunch of white people who didn't grow up in it. And there's a hot black guy, and they want to really just suck his dick, and he's telling them about spirits. I saw a video today. I'm like, shame on them. It's all confused. It's like those
Could
white
be.
chicks that suck that Hindu dick when they go to hot yoga.
Yes,
You know that guy that
yes,
got it? He
Bikram.
Bikram
Yeah.
is a pig. He got a bunch of white chicks with hummus flavor in their mouth from sucking that Bikram dick. You know, well, he gets to me inside. You suck that fucking dead dick that smells like hummus chips. Listen, when I was a kid, man, I went to my buddy's judo school. I didn't join. I just went down there to see what it was like. And it was hidden in Union City. It was on 7th Street. But I knew that my stepdad played cards on 9th Street on Wednesdays.
Wow.
Okay, I knew my stepdad played cards down there. They played baccarat. Okay, and they'd gamble in this little club. And I had to be maybe 10. But because I grew up how I grew up, and with the numbers, I always had my eyes out as a kid. When I went to judo that night, at the end, I got in the bus to go back, and I noticed unmarked police cars. And I went home that night. And look, bro, you know me, dog. Get Christy Love used to be a show on ABC about a black chick that knew martial arts. They tried to capitalize on it with her sister. And she was good looking with an afro, and she was a cop. And she'd come in and do karate moves. So on Wednesday nights at 9 or 10 o'clock, you caught me at home watching Get Christy Love. And I'll never forget that my stepdad was leaving that night. And for some reason, I go, you going to play baccarat tonight? And he looked at me. He was getting dressed, a suit on. He had like the Billy Bat suit on and shit. Like, you're going to play cards with 5 men. Why are you getting dressed to the nines?
Right.
And I said to him, I said, hey, man, today I went down there to go to Martin's judo school, and I saw a bunch of unmarked cars down there. If I was you, I wouldn't go out to that. And he fucking just looked at me. He said, I love you, and he walked down the stairs. He got in the car, started it, opened the garage, bro. And 10 minutes later, I heard the car turn off, and the garage closed, and he came up, and he goes, I think you're right. And he made Sundays for me and him, and next morning, that card place had got raided. So now, they would listen to me when I was a kid. I had these fucking morons under my spell, right?
Because that doesn't seem to make any sense
I
to
think
me.
some states look upon it like, when I was a kid, the reason why my parents did numbers in the city is because they gave you a ticket in the city and a felony in Jersey. So wait a second, Joey. With all those degenerate motherfuckers in the tri-state area, what you're telling me is, if you got arrested for gambling in New York City in the 70s and 80s, you got a ticket. The cop said, what are we going to do? I got 1,000 of these motherfuckers popping apartment buildings all over the place. If you went to Harlem in the 70s, it was all little bodegas and everybody took action. Whether it was numbers, the Knicks, the Brooklyn number, the Roosevelt number. Remember, there's 5 numbers that come out in fucking New York.
Did I ever tell you my grandmother got arrested?
Yes.
For one of the numbers.
You run numbers. It's something that you do in the neighborhood. You become a part of it. You get accepted. Okay. For years, okay, everybody. Well, I did. I don't know about you. Once a month, even if I over-exaggerate, once a month, somebody would pull me aside and go, "Hey, man, you know anybody who wants sneakers? What do you got?"
Yeah.
I got Converse. Okay, they usually go for 20. For you, I'll give them to you for 7. You don't even ask. You just know they're stolen. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna embarrass you.
Right.
You come to my house. You're my friend, right, Joe? You come to my house. Joe, how you doing? This is kind of embarrassing. My cousin, he owns a store and he's having a sale on TVs. I know it's 6 o'clock. It's a little late, but they're Trinitrons. They're 400 brand new. I need 100. They're in a box with a warranty. Christmas is coming. You don't ask if they're stolen. That's a regular fucking day for a guy in Pittsburgh, Connecticut.
Is that more of an East Coast thing where people come to you with an open van?
Well, I'm not an open van. I'm talking not people, not strangers. I'm talking about Jamie. You know Jamie 3-4 years, and Jamie's got a cousin that gets watches.
Right.
He gets the best watch in the world, Malaconta. They're $52,000, but Jamie can get them for 22 cash. 22,000 and 20 goes to the guy, and Jamie gets 2 off the top. Are you going to torture Jamie and embarrass him? Like, so when did you get this? Am I going to get arrested? No. Give him the 22 grand and move on with your fucking life. Right?
Is that bad karma?
Who knows?
Buy stolen goods?
No, because Montocunqua gets the insurance back from you, and they get it even higher. They get the retail back. They don't even get the wholesale, so everybody makes out.
Nice.
If you take it off somebody's watch and put a gun to his head, then you got to bump into something bad.
Right. The physical act of taking it from a person is different from
no matter
a
what,
truck
there's something
disappearing.
involved, but you don't have nothing to do with it. Somebody shows up at your doorstep. It's 2 weeks away from Christmas. What a surprise. You have the Nintendo game my son wants, or the PS3, or the PS. How much are those things brand new?
300.
How much?
300.
300 brand new. I show up at your house for $1.25 with 3 of them. You're going to take all 3 of them.
I know a dude who thought he was buying a stereo, but he's actually buying bricks. He got one of those stereo
Right,
back.
but he's a fucking half a Momo. He stopped at the street and bought it from a guy named Jamal.
I had a guy, I was buying pet food. I pulled into this parking spot. I got out, and this dude literally opened the van like he was going to take me in and fuck me. Like I was like some little kid. He was about to scoop up out of the woods. Like it was a molester. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you got? And he's like, stereos. You want to buy a stereo? I was like, this is the weirdest. He opened up the door like as people parked the car and like was literally like going, hey man, you want some of this? Like, what?
You're asking for trouble if you do business with one of those guys.
Well, that's the most obvious shit ever. You know, he's just randomly trying to sell a stereo to the back of a van. Like,
Now, what are these things that they do in whatever? Like the people go and they have, what are they called? Junkets here? When I was
press junkets?
No, I'm sorry. The thing off the fucking 5 that you always see in the movies and all the fucking Friday, they all go to a place and they buy stereos and Raider hats. It's
swap meet?
Swap meet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, in L.A., it's a swap meet. In Jersey, they're called, what are they called?
Flea market.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because when I was a
Thank you,
kid,
Jamie.
I used to go to where they used to do the bicycles, whatever, the streetcar races.
Yeah.
And next door to it, they had whatever was called. And you'd go there, and they had pretty much shit that was stolen. It was just a festival, and they charged a table fee because everything was 50% off. Even the sneakers, I remember. And then we found out that the guy would go to the fucking factory and jump over the fence and take all the sneakers that were mistakes. So the irregulars, they would take those and just sell them at those
Swap
flea
meets.
markets, swap meets. And then we found out, we cut into his action. I swear to God, we cut into that action and the Banaka action. Remember those tubes of Banaka?
Breath spray?
They would throw thousands of them out with the little things, like the chemical was off. You start blinking too much. Like the chemical would be off, then it was pepper spray, like real pepper spray, like people would spray it, and you see what happened. It's not regular Banaka. What is that, tear gas? It was like the tear gas. And we had the Spanish kid that was half retarded, and we'd make him jump the fence, and we'd have thousands of tubes. And we'd sell them for 50 cents a piece on Monday in the 6th and 7th grade. Hilarious. But there was always 3 kids that complained. There was a little, like, the chemical imbalance was all.
I don't know. I mean, syphilis kills you. I'm pretty sure syphilis kills like everybody that gets
What's
it.
VD?
Venereal disease.
But that covers everything.
Well, it's weird because venereal doesn't sound like sex, but that's what VD is. You know, VD is a sexual transmitted disease. When you think about someone having VD.
When I was about 17, my friend fucked his sister's best friend, and he got something.
He got VD.
He got VD, and we went there the next day, and there was a chick with like fucking like a Phantom of the Opera mark on her face. Dog, it was fucking crazy.
What was the mark on her face?
Like she had like syphilis or something that started here. Like she had a cut in her lip, and she sucked a fucked up dick or something. And it ran. I'll never forget this. It's not even funny. It was really sad because I didn't know what she had. I just went there with my friend. My friend goes, "You got to go in there with me, dog. I'm scared to walk in there." Whoa. I said, "Let's go. What's the big deal? They're going to give you pills, whatever." I didn't know. I wasn't sexually active at that age like he was. And we went in there while I was waiting for him, dog. This chick came in, did paperwork, and she turned around, and she had gotten something that started here. Like, she had like a cut or what's that when you have chapped lips or something? And all this was like half purple and red. She sucked something bad. And after that, I was like, "Ooh, I got to be careful out there. It's a jungle."
That was the thing when we were kids. Like, someone has VD. She's got VD. Be careful, he's got VD. You know, someone having VD was like, "Whoa, you hear? Do you hear? Betty got VD. Ooh, that fucking girl got VD."
There's a girl on Facebook that's friends with me from high school that her pussy wouldn't get wet. So they used to call her the dry hump, Fairview, New Jersey. They used to call her Fairview, New Jersey, the dry
That's so awful. That's so fucked up. People are so fucked up. People are so fucked up.
This girl was banging. This girl was fucking banging, though.
So you'd have to like bring Vaseline or something?
Yeah, she was from Wayne, New Jersey, and she was banging. She moved to North Bergen like, and she was a sophomore, and she was dating a few guys and shit. And things happened. Like I was friends with her. I knew she didn't like me. Like she just didn't like me for some reason. I didn't think the world of her either. And one night in '84, I'm at a bar, and this bitch comes in. I mean, banging, banging, banging. They also said she had some type of VD, so they called her Lori Jack. You know, like, she's got the jack.
No, what
remember
is that?
AC/DC sang a song.
Oh.
She's got the jack. So they used to call her name and Jack. Like, that was her name. Like, they just tormented this girl. Oh. And she dated, like, a rock guy that had, like, long hair and
rocker.
Shit. And one night I saw her. And
Rocky.
and she was banging Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
Banging. And I go, "You live in North Bergen now?" She's like, "Yeah, I didn't go to college. I'm a nanny. I'm a nanny," and she told me the guy's name. And I knew that guy. That guy had a massage parlor years earlier. The guy that she was being a nanny for. And I go, if she's his nanny, he's just fucking her. Something's got to be wrong. She looked so good in that miniskirt. She disappeared like 1:30. And finally at like 3, I'm sitting and I'm like, what am I going to do tonight? And I had like a bag of Coke. I go, fuck it. I'm going to go get her. So I went to, this is how crazy I was. I went to the dude's house, who she told me. I knocked on the door. It was 3:15 in the morning. And he's like, "Coco, what are you doing here?" I go, "I got to talk to Lori. There's something missing." He goes, "Hold on, Lori?" And she came down, and she comes outside. He's got a robe on. She's got a robe on. And I look her straight in the face. I go, "Listen, I got like 2 8-balls in my pocket. Get dressed. Let's get the fuck out of here." And she's like, "I can't." And I go, "You have to." And we argued there for like 10 minutes. I'm like, "I want to suck your pussy. I want to do dirty things to you. I don't give a fuck about the VD or the jack or the dry hump. I'm on fire." And she's like, "Well, give me 10 minutes, and how am I going to sneak out of here? I don't know." So I waited outside for her. She's like, "I'll put Lou in bed, and I'll run out." About 15 minutes later, I see her running out with her purse with like a bank deposit bag. She's like, "Fuck him. I can't take him anymore. Fuck him." We were on foot. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm on Tunley Avenue, North Bergen. There's a bunch of those dirty hotels. So I'm like, "Oh, I got a score here. I got Coke. She's got money. I'm going to fuck her. I'm excited." We go back to a hotel. We finally registered. It's like $30. They asked us if we wanted the jacuzzi in the room and shit. It was one of those dirty hotels on Tunley as you go into New York City. We went in there. We walk in, and she goes, "Rule number 1, you are not gonna fuck me." It's 5 in the morning. There goes my fucking. There goes this night. And all of a sudden she looks at me. She goes, "Well, if you could guess the color of my panties, I'll fuck you." And I'm like, "Okay, red." And she goes, "They're green, but good enough." We started snorting coke, eating ass. I mean, it was filthy. I woke up at 5 in the afternoon, and Doug Flutie was throwing that quarterback, that touchdown. In 1984 or 83, Doug Flutie, I was waking up. She was naked, ripped apart. I'm waking up, and Doug Flutie's throwing the touchdown. I got dressed and got the fuck out and never saw her again. Never said, and I even robbed the money. I took everything. She pops up on Facebook about 2 years ago, and I'm like, "Lori, how are you?" She's like, "Fuck you, you fat faggot," and all this shit. She's like, "You left me there that night, but we had a good time." Fuck yeah, we had a good time. And I hit her back. I go, "What color are your panties?" And she goes, "What's that supposed to mean?" It's fucking tremendous.
Hilarious.
I knew she gave me something. She had something. But I didn't give a fuck. It was 84. Rock Hudson was dying. I didn't use a condom. I knew the consequences. I'm like, fuck it. So I knew I was going to get something, and I probably did. I got crabs after that. Over the holidays. That was 84. I got crabs in 84, 85 season. I got crabs. I found out at a bathroom in Port Authority. I went to Port Authority to take a shit, and I pulled my pants down, and I'm sitting there reading the paper, and I see a crab. Like I saw something jump, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I'd never heard it. Nothing. I went home and took my underwear off and got like a magnifying glass. It was over. It was all over me. They were all over the couch. I had to bring a bomb into the room, like one of those fucking bug bombs, and leave for 12 hours.
Did you really?
Oh, I crabbed up the whole fucking thing. It was crabbed up for like a month, dog.
Oh, my God.
The lady next door knocked on my thing. I was living in Tenafly, New Jersey. Lady next door knocked. "Do you have a bug problem?" I'm like, No. I don't know what happened. Ever since you moved in here, there's been crabs and shit.
Oh, no.
Oh, the handle that I would hold. Remember the ones when you were in Taekwondo and they had the wood in the top and they had 4 inches of canvas and you would stand in front of it. And
Makiwara.
A makiwara.
Yeah.
And it would have like your knuckles.
Those guys would really
God.
condition their knuckles.
We would save our money. We were geeks. That's what we did at 12. But then I had little Goombas in my neighborhood. And when they were 12, they did something completely different. They went behind the school and they would roll one joint and put it in a piece of glass tube and light it up, and we would drink Boone's Farm, the fruit shit, and I'd get pukey, so I didn't know who to hang out with, so I would have to be like a double agent. That was a tough job for me as a 12-year-old. I liked hanging out with my karate geeks, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like going to competitions. I like doing forms. I like doing the semi-contact competitions where you couldn't kick above the head.
Yeah, those are good for kids.
But you don't like it anyway, but you still kick the kid and get disqualified. But fuck it, I kicked him in the jaw. Did you see,
People did that.
This is in life was simple for me. So I had to make a decision because the Kung Fu kids didn't get no pussy. They just weren't into pussy. They would talk about girls and they maybe had a crush on the girl in the 430 class, but they never asked her to come to any of the events. My other buddies were into pussy. So eventually I cut the karate fucking geeks out and I started hanging out with the little druggies, and you make your transition and from those developmental ages, like I tried to hide my drug use. I tried to hide it, especially the marijuana use. For 2 or 3 years, it was just marijuana.
Wow.
Then once I became a freshman, I didn't start basketball my freshman year. I decided let's venture out into this acid thing. Let's venture out into this mescaline thing. Ooh. It was a different name. It was mescaline, but it really wasn't mescaline, Joe Rogan. It was a little tablet.
Peyote?
No, it wasn't even peyote. It was a little thing.
Aren't they the same?
Excuse me?
Isn't it a similar compound?
Peyote, yeah. But mescaline is what they sell you in the South.
Right.
They supposedly put it in tequila or something.
That's mezcal, right?
Yeah, this is something that 2 little fucking white kids made in a pill. It was rat poison with something else, and it was very tiny. It was maybe the little size of this. That's it. And it came in aluminum foil, Even smaller than that.
Wow.
Even smaller than that. Way smaller. That little thing, that's it. You paid $80 for it, and you got 100 of those, and you sold them for $3 a piece. And that would fuck you up for 6 hours with a 2-hour haze in between, an hour buffer and an hour to come down. And I did that for 3 or 4 months. Then they introduced me to THC Crystal, which is snorting. They sold it as, what we do is we get a bunch of stems and seeds from the reefer. We put it in a pot, and we boil that pot. And whatever separates from the stems and the seeds that goes to the sides, we scrape that off. And that's what you snort in your nose.
Oh my God.
So I had like a personal karate rule that I would always just smoke it and do the mescaline, but I was never going to put nothing in my nose.
Oh, you had a rule like a drug addict put something in their nose.
Right, like that's it. Like that's a complete different range. I'll never shoot heroin, and I'll never put
Especially
nothing in
as
my
a karate
nose.
man.
As a karate man, I had karate morals.
Yeah.
I was just strayed away with the reefer. And then I finally ended up snorting that fucking Gorilla Biscuit shit. Because that's what it was. It was angel dust. They
my
They just
God.
told you. And I went on an angel dust tear. Like every Sunday, me and my friend Carlos Perez would buy a 6-pack of Michelob. He only liked Michelob. Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special. The beer will pour. Must say something more. Yeah. Call it tonight.
Oh, that's Lowenbrow.
Yeah, Lowenbrow. What are we talking about?
Michelob?
Michelob. No, we
Different
would
one,
drink.
right?
We would drink Lowenbrow.
Lowenbrow. Oh, that one.
We would get a 6-pack of
Did I get it
Lowenbrow and fucking snort a $10 package of THC Crystal. My mother would go to the track on Sundays, so I knew she wouldn't come back till 7. So me and him would snort it. As soon as my mother stepped foot in that car at 11, me and him would have it, and we'd snort it, and then fucking just sit around like and be fucking zombies all day.
Yeah.
But that was a development. And then I went, after my mom died, I just went on an acid tear for fucking a year, all different types of. God knows what was in those goddamn things. God